For Father's Day. My family kept saying, "Don't make any plans." My wife smiled, but I ended up alone until they realized too late what they had done. My name's James. I'm 42 and I thought I had a decent life. Not perfect. I don't think anyone's is, but decent. Married for 16 years, 2 kids, Mia and Logan. I've always been a family-first kind of guy. I coach Logan's soccer team, used to braid Mia's hair before school, and I've never once missed a birthday or a holiday. I work in IT remote for the past 6 years, which meant I could pick the kids up from school, help with homework, be there. My wife Eliza works in real estate. She's great at it, always dressed to impress, always talking, always moving. For a long time I admired her energy. Now I'm not sure if I ever really knew her. Father's Day was coming up. You'd think after so many years it would lose a bit of its shine, but I always looked forward to it. It wasn't about the gifts or anything grand. It was the one day where I felt seen, appreciated. A card, maybe breakfast in bed, a morning of cartoons with the kids, something simple. But that year, Eliza kept hinting at something big. "Don't make any plans," she kept saying, smiling just a little too wide. "We've got something special in store." Mia even giggled when I tried to guess. "You'll see," she said. "You'll love it." I woke up that Sunday and the bed was empty. No smell of pancakes, no footsteps down the hall, just the hum of the ceiling fan and the silence of a house not waiting for me. I figured maybe they were setting something up. I brushed my teeth, threw on a hoodie, and waited. 9 o'clock, still quiet. No noise from the kitchen. I checked Mia's room, empty. Same with Logan's. I looked in the garage. Eliza's car was gone. By noon, I was confused. Maybe there was some mix-up. Maybe they'd gone out to get something, or there was a reservation I didn't know about. I checked my phone for a message. Anything, nothing. Then I opened Instagram. That was the moment everything shifted. A story from Mia. A boomerang of a mimosa clinking with a glass of orange juice. Then a slow pan across a restaurant table. Eliza, Mia, Logan, and her sister Tasha. Everyone smiling, laughing. The caption hit me like a punch to the gut. "Best dad ever when he's not around, LOL." I didn't even know how to react. I just stared at the screen. My brain was trying to process what I was seeing, but my chest was already ahead of it, tightening up, burning. Was this a joke? A prank? Was I not invited? I didn't text. I didn't call. I just sat there, phone in hand, still in my hoodie, the same one Mia had gotten me last Christmas. I waited and waited. Nothing. The rest of the day was a blur. I remember heating up leftover pasta, sitting on the porch with the dog, watching the sky get dark, and wondering if they'd even come home that night. They didn't. Monday came and went. I worked, logged into meetings, went through the motions. No one mentioned Father's Day. Not my coworkers, not my family. I started to wonder if I was the crazy one. Tuesday morning, around 9:20 a.m., my phone exploded. 63 missed calls, a dozen texts, and one from Mia that just said, "Please come home. We didn't know." That was the moment I realized something deeper was going on. Something worse than just being forgotten or left out because they had come home and I wasn't there. Now I know what you might be thinking. Why didn't I go back? Why didn't I blow up their phones on Sunday, demand answers, show up at that brunch in person? I've asked myself that too. But when something like this happens, something so off-kilter, you don't react the way you think you would. You freeze. You wait. You hope it's not what it looks like, that there's a logical explanation, some surprise twist where everything's okay. But I had a creeping feeling in my gut that told me, "James, you're not the main character anymore. Not in your own home." Still, I didn't respond. Not immediately. I needed to understand what the hell had happened. Why a day meant for me had turned into a celebration of me not being there. Why Mia, who used to draw me stick figure cards and call me her superhero dad, was now posting stories like I was a joke. The voicemail from Eliza was frantic. "James, please call me. The kids are upset. I don't know what you're doing, but this isn't funny. Just come home. We can talk. Please." I listened to it twice. Her voice was shaky, but not apologetic, not even surprised. More annoyed, like I was the one pulling a stunt. That's when I decided to start digging. I logged into our shared Google account. I knew she never signed out, not because she trusted me, but because she wasn't tech-savvy. Calendar entries, emails, locations, all synced. I scrolled through her recent searches and saw Father's Day brunch ideas, funny dad captions, and strangely how to handle manipulative husbands. That stopped me cold. Then in her emails, a thread with her sister. Subject: Sunday plans. I clicked it open. There it was. "Just make sure James doesn't find out," Tasha had written. Eliza's reply: "He won't. I told him it's a surprise. This way we can have a peaceful brunch for once. He'll probably enjoy the quiet." Peaceful brunch. Enjoy the quiet. That's when something snapped. All these years, I thought I was appreciated. Maybe not celebrated. I wasn't looking for parades, but at least respected. But to be left behind, lied to, then mocked online, that was something else entirely. That was premeditated cruelty. I didn't reply to the texts. I didn't call back. I started going over every little thing I'd overlooked over the past year. The late night showings that took hours. The way Logan started calling Tasha's husband Uncle Mark more affectionately than me. The way Mia had started rolling her eyes when I asked her to spend time together. The way Eliza would sigh when I talked about work like I was boring her. I started seeing it all differently. Not as isolated moments, but as pieces of a bigger picture I'd refused to look at. I checked the home cameras. We'd installed them 2 years ago after a break-in scare. Eliza had access to, but she rarely used them. I pulled up the footage from Sunday morning. At 7:46 a.m., I saw them all piling into the car. Mia dressed in a pink sundress, Logan in a little button-up and khakis, Eliza in heels laughing. She tossed a glance toward the front door where I was still asleep and said something I couldn't hear. The three of them laughed. Then they drove off. They hadn't just left me. They'd laughed. And for what? A joke, a break, a photo op. That night, I packed a bag, laptop chargers, a week's worth of clothes. I didn't leave a note. I knew they'd notice soon enough. I checked into a hotel across town. Nothing fancy, just a place with working Wi-Fi and clean sheets. I needed space. I needed time. But more than that, I needed a plan because something in me had shifted. Something I couldn't put back. I wasn't going to let this slide. I wasn't going to play the fool anymore. And I wasn't going home. Not yet. Not until I decided what kind of storm I was going to bring with me. The first night at the hotel, I barely slept. Not because the bed was uncomfortable. It was fine. Better than the pull-out couch I used during Logan's sleepovers, but because my brain wouldn't shut off. I lay there staring at the ceiling, my mind jumping between memories like a broken slideshow. Christmas mornings, soccer games, Mia's science fair, late nights on the porch with Eliza when the kids were little, just sipping coffee and talking about dreams. But now those same memories felt distorted, like someone had scribbled over them in red ink. I kept replaying that brunch story in my head. The laughter, the mimosa, that caption, best dad ever when he's not around, LOL. That word LOL looped in my head like a bad song. It was casual offhand, like I was some sitcom character they could laugh about. But I wasn't. I was the guy who paid for the mortgage, fixed the leaky sink, helped with algebra homework, gave up job opportunities so I could be home more. And apparently, none of that had meant anything. Tuesday night, I finally messaged Mia. Just 2 words. I saw she read it almost immediately. Then the typing bubble appeared and vanished. Reappeared. Vanished again. I waited, heart racing, but no reply came. Just silence. I was halfway through a takeout burger when my phone lit up. This time, it was Logan. Dad, are you mad? Mad, that wasn't the word. I wasn't mad like when someone cuts you off in traffic. I was gutted, hollowed out, but I didn't want to put that on an 11-year-old. I'm okay, I texted. We'll talk soon. He sent back a thumbs-up emoji. That hurt more than it should have. By Wednesday, Eliza had tracked down the hotel. I don't know how. Maybe she checked my last credit card charge. Maybe she guessed. She called the front desk and they passed her through to my room. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail again. This one tighter, more controlled. James, this is getting ridiculous. The kids are worried. You're making a bigger deal out of this than it needs to be. Can we please just talk like adults? Come home. We'll clear the air like adults who ditch you on a holiday and post about it publicly. I didn't respond. Instead, I went to work. I wasn't just sitting around anymore. I started pulling pieces together. First, I made a copy of every financial file we had. Bank accounts, credit cards, mortgage investment accounts. Eliza handled most of our finances. She'd insisted, said she was better with numbers. I trusted her, but now I wanted to see everything, and I did. There were odd charges, demo payments to names I didn't recognize. A rental deposit paid in full in another city. Weekly lunch charges from a restaurant far from her usual listings. My stomach turned. Then I dug into our shared Dropbox. Years ago, we used it for family photos, travel plans, budgeting spreadsheets. She still used it occasionally. Probably forgot I even had access. Buried in a subfolder was a document titled Plan B. I opened it, pulse pounding. It was a list, a very detailed one. New apartment walkthrough. Check lawyer consult scheduled. Check joint account split estimate. What to do if James resists? Tasha can talk to him. Keep kids neutral. Don't overshare. I just sat there for a long time staring at it. If James resists, like I was an obstacle, like I was a thing to be managed. Not a person, not her husband, not their father. This wasn't just a brunch. This was an escape plan. And that's when the weight of it really hit me. They hadn't forgotten me. They'd excluded me on purpose to test the waters, see how life felt without me. And maybe if I hadn't checked Instagram, they would have carried on like nothing happened. Let the plan unfold on their terms. Quiet, neat, controlled. But now the ball was in my court. I took the rest of that Wednesday to get my ducks in a row. I made appointments, called a friend who worked in family law, rented a private mailbox, opened a separate bank account. I wasn't planning to burn the house down, not yet. But I was making sure if Eliza wanted war, she wouldn't be the only one holding the match. Thursday morning, I got an email from the school. Mia had skipped 2 classes. Logan had been pulled out early. My guess, Eliza trying to smooth things over. Paint this as daddy's having a moment. But I knew my kids. Mia might be drifting. Sure, but Logan, he was a straight arrow. If he left early, it was because he was confused, hurt. I decided it was time to talk to them. Not Eliza, not yet. But the kids. I texted Mia. Meet me at the diner near the park, 5 p.m. Just you and Logan, no pressure. She replied within 5 minutes. Okay. At 4:50, I was already in the booth, a milkshake waiting for Logan and fries for Mia, her favorite. They walked in holding hands, both looking smaller than I remembered. Mia had her hoodie pulled over her head and Logan wouldn't stop fidgeting with his sleeve. Mia slid into the booth and stared at me. Her eyes were puffy. She looked like she hadn't slept. Dad, she started, but I held up my hand. Let me go first. They listened. I told them everything I knew, that I saw the brunch, that I read the messages, that I knew about the emails. I didn't yell. I didn't guilt trip them. I just laid it out. Mia looked like she wanted to disappear into her seat. We didn't know the whole plan. She said finally, Mom said you were tired, that you'd be annoyed if we made a fuss, that it was just one brunch. She said it was a girl's thing, Logan muttered. But then I was there too. I nodded. I know it's not your fault, but I want you to hear this from me. I'm not disappearing. I love you both. And no matter what happens between me and Mom, you're still my kids. Mia started crying. Logan did too. And in that moment, I realized something. Eliza might have been planning her perfect escape, but she hadn't told the kids the whole story. She tried to rope them into her narrative, but they were still on the fence, still reachable. I hugged them both before they left, told them I'd be in touch soon, told them things were going to be okay, even if they didn't look like they used to. Back at the hotel that night, I poured myself a drink, sat at the tiny desk with my laptop open, and stared at the folder I'd built. I named it Reset because that's what this was. Not just revenge, not justice, a reset. But first, I had one more conversation to have, one that had been a long time coming. I opened my phone, scrolled to Eliza's name, and hit record on the voice memo app. Then I called. Her voice came on smooth as ever. James, finally. Are you ready to stop being dramatic? I smiled. Not dramatic, Eliza. Just getting started. And then I asked her one question, a question I already knew the answer to, and waited for her to lie. So I said evenly, how long have you been planning to leave me? The silence that followed was thick. No breathing, no shuffling, just the low static hum of tension vibrating through the line. Then finally she responded. What? Her voice was higher than usual, almost light dismissive. I asked how long. I repeated, my tone still calm. You know, Plan B, the apartment, the lawyer, consult the budget spreadsheet. I read it all. Eliza, I know. She laughed short-forced like a cough dressed up as amusement. You went through my stuff. You left it in our shared folder, I said. You didn't even bother to hide it. Was I supposed to keep smiling while you packed your escape route? Another pause. Then her voice hardened. You don't understand. Things haven't been working for a long time. You just don't see it because you're always in your own world. I felt something flicker in my chest. Not pain, not yet, just the familiar sting of being blamed for someone else's detour. I work from home. I drive the kids. I cook. I clean. I tried to give you space-time support. If I missed something, you could have said so. But instead, you planned a brunch to celebrate me not being there. You're twisting it, she snapped. It was supposed to be lighthearted. It was supposed to be a test run, I said. And you know it. Her silence told me everything I needed. Do they know I asked? Mia and Logan about the apartment, the lawyer? No, she said quickly. Of course not. Why would I tell them something that might not even happen because it already is happening? Eliza? I let that hang. I knew I was pushing her, but I needed to see what she'd do if she backed down. If she denied everything, but instead, she doubled down. I'm not doing this with you over the phone, she said curtly. If you want to talk, come home. Why? So I can walk into a house that's already been emotionally emptied out. You're being dramatic, James. There it was again. That word. I'm being precise, I said, lowering my voice. And for what it's worth, you could have told me the truth. You didn't have to turn the kids into pawns in some sick little performance. Don't you dare drag them into this. I already met with them. I cut in. They're not stupid. They feel it too. You've been playing chess, Eliza, and I'm just now realizing I was never your partner. I was a piece. Another silence. But this one felt different. Not stunned, calculated. Okay, she said finally. So what now? Now that was the question. I didn't answer right away. I wanted her to sweat a little, feel what it was like to be left in the dark for once. But more importantly, I needed more time to prepare, because what I was planning wasn't just revenge. It was revelation. A carefully constructed unraveling. I'll be in touch, I said, and ended the call. I sat there for a moment, letting the quiet fill the space where her voice had been. My heart was pounding, but my mind was clearer than it had been in weeks. I wasn't out to destroy her. I was out to expose the version of herself she had worked so hard to sell to me, to the kids, to the world, and let the truth speak for itself. That night, I called my lawyer friend Darren. We'd gone to college together, lost touch, and reconnected last year when his firm helped with some tech compliance contracts. I didn't tell him everything. Not yet. Just the basics. Eliza's planning something. I found documentation. I need to protect myself and the kids. He didn't ask why I hadn't come to him sooner. Just said, let's meet Friday. I'll prep the paperwork. Bring everything you have. That gave me 2 days. 2 days to finish what I'd started. The next morning, I went to our safe deposit box, something Eliza probably forgot existed. Inside were old documents, insurance policies, backup drives, and importantly, the original house deed. I made copies of everything, then went to the bank to freeze the joint savings account. Not drain it, just freeze it. I didn't want to financially ruin her. I just wanted to make it very clear I wasn't the passive fool she'd taken me for. That the man she left behind on Father's Day was not the same man she was dealing with now. When I returned to the hotel, there was a letter under my door. James, please. We need to talk. The kids are scared. I don't know what you're doing, but we're still a family. Let's just come home. I'll explain everything. It wasn't handwritten. It was printed. That small detail told me more than the words did. She still thought this was damage control. That I could be talked down. That a warm smile and a few tears could smooth over weeks, maybe months of manipulation. She didn't realize yet that the story had changed. So I did something she never expected. I wrote my own letter, not to her, to the kids. I wrote about how much I love them, how I was still their dad, how I wasn't running away but choosing to fight differently. I explained in age-appropriate terms that sometimes adults lie, even the ones we trust, and that when they do, we don't repay that lie with more silence. We speak up, we stand tall, we protect what matters. I told them I would never ask them to choose sides, that I knew they loved their mom, and that was okay. But I also told them I wouldn't be a ghost in their life, not even for one more day. And then I mailed the letter. Not emailed, not texted, mailed, tangible, something they could hold, something real. I was done with illusions. That night, I went through the last of the digital files. Old voicemails, screenshots, calendar notes, little pieces of evidence that showed just how long I'd been living in a house where the door had already been quietly closing behind me. By the time Friday morning rolled around, I was ready. I showed up to Darren's office with a flash drive, 2 binders, and a list of questions. Legal custody, financial separation, emergency arrangements. I wanted to be thorough, not for revenge for my kids, so they'd never have to wonder who fought for them. Halfway through the meeting, my phone buzzed. A new Instagram post from Eliza. It was a picture of her and the kids smiling. A throwback photo. The caption read, "Some people break your heart and still expect you to love them." And just like that, I realized she'd started spinning her version of the story publicly before the truth could catch up. But she'd miscalculated one thing. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was preparing. And when I was done, everyone would know who she really was. I waited exactly 1 week. Not because I was unsure. I wasn't, but because revenge. Real revenge doesn't come from rage. It comes from clarity, precision. I wanted Eliza to sit with her choices. Watch her narrative spin, feel like she had the upper hand. That's what made what came next so much more satisfying. It started with the truth. I posted a letter not to social media. I wasn't going to play her game on her turf, but to our neighborhood forum, the school parent board, and yes, a private post sent to every family member on both sides. I kept it calm, mature, just facts. I told them what had happened on Father's Day. No drama, no flourishes. Just that I woke up alone, and while my family smiled over pancakes and mimosas, I sat at home wondering what I'd done wrong. I mentioned the Instagram story, the caption, the silence, and how when I asked for honesty, what I got instead was a digital trail of betrayal, a documented plan to replace me, to move on without confronting me like an adult, like a partner. I didn't name call. I didn't curse. But I made it clear I was not disappearing. I was not shrinking. I was not the villain. Then came the second part of the plan, legal. Darren had helped me draft the papers, separation custody, and a financial breakdown that reflected my years of contribution. Not just the income, but the time, the unpaid labor, the coaching, the late-night science projects, the hospital visits, the emotional anchor I'd been, while Eliza ran off to show listings and smile for strangers. We served her during one of her open houses. The courier walked right in, said her name, and handed her the envelope while she stood in a sunlit living room in front of a young couple looking to buy their first home. Poetic. After that, it unraveled quickly. She tried to do damage control, reached out to friends, said I was being vindictive, emotionally unstable, even manipulative. But by then it was too late. The receipts were everywhere. Her plan B wasn't just a bad secret, it was a blueprint for calculated emotional neglect. People started backing away. Friends we'd known for years stopped replying to her group texts. Her sister Tasha, who had once been smug enough to laugh along on that brunch, quietly took a trip out of state and didn't come back for 3 weeks. I think she realized she'd been caught in the blast radius. Mia and Logan stayed with me most of that first month. Not because I asked, because they chose to. And that was the final nail in Eliza's narrative. She couldn't spin herself as the stable one. When the kids kept packing their bags and asking if they could just go back to Dad's and me, I rebuilt. Not quickly, not perfectly, but I stopped living like a ghost in my own story. I signed a new lease on a house nearby, smaller but cozy. I let me decorate her room however she wanted. Logan got a loft bed and glow-in-the-dark stars. We made waffles on Saturdays. I started journaling, went back to the gym, laughed again, and I told the kids the truth gently, but honestly, that love doesn't mean letting someone walk all over you. That respect goes both ways, and that being a parent, a real parent, means showing up even when it hurts. Eliza and I finalized the divorce 6 months later. She didn't fight it too hard in the end. I think she knew. The image had cracked and no amount of filters could put it back together. The last time we saw each other in person, she tried one more time. "You really made this ugly, James." I looked her straight in the eye. "No, I said you did. I just stopped cleaning up after you." She didn't reply, just stood there, lips pressed tight as I walked away with my kids. And as I closed the door behind me, I realized something I wish I had known sooner. Sometimes being the bigger person means knowing when to stop carrying people who were never walking beside you in the first place. That was the day I finally came home for real, this